All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to Game Cave Development. We are working on we're gonna go over Brandon's touch-ups to the Jolly Dagger. Brandon, say hello.
Hello.
All right, so we left off last week with notes. You guys can see the video on the previous YouTube. Then you went back into your lead-heavy cave hole thing and whipped up some stuff, right?
Correct.
All right, so let's see. Let's go ahead and just open up the edits from last time. So these were some notes we went over last time, screen caps, things I wanted you to do, shape changes and stuff. And we had some ideas on what the back plates would look like and different pieces, which we will get to. But for now, just these things. Let's see what you did. Here's your current model, right?
Correct.
Yeah, in Maya. So challenges, thoughts, questions, comments on.
Yeah, I mean it's one thing just making a ship. It's another thing, having you send me edits and then rearrange that whole ship. And you really, if you don't start right, you go back and have to replace a lot of things. And I played hell with that bottom engine part right there, the big thickness. Uh, that was hard for me because I didn't know what I was doing, so it was just a lot of learning, just trying to add the thickness, and it took me a while. Uh, I think overall it looks pretty good. I know there's still a ways to go, but I'm happy with it so far.
Now, just for the record, tell everyone you've never modeled anything in Maya before.
I'm going on 2 weeks of using Maya.
And you've used no, I did no cross sections for you, right? You just looked at my piece of key art, correct?
Correct. Cross section. That's where you draw from all different angles, right?
Right, I draw from the side, from the
No, you
front.
didn't. You didn't do that.
I'm doing that. And why didn't I do that?
So I could learn to do it without it.
Right. And the reason being is I've been in production where that cross section shit, you just don't have time. You get a piece of concept art, you got to look at it, you got to build it. You got to get the director's notes, you got to fucking modify it. And so leaning on cross sections, dude, really just creates more work for me that will then not really matter. I mean, you could build it to cross. I've had people build things to cross sections
Hmm.
back when I was in college and we are working on like, animation. So I do all these cross sections, they build it and you're like, yeah, it don't look right. It's doesn't look good, you know?
Right.
Like I get you. Yeah, well your drawing's right there. No, I see you're blaming me. I get that. It's my fault for the cross section. So I hand people at this point, I hand you a piece of art that I'm happy with, and then you need to start thinking three-dimensionally, about what it
Right.
looks like. And, you talk with me. I want to kind of like this. I'm thinking that, and then you go and build it.
Right. The weight, the thickness of things, the just the feel of it, and just where your mindset's at, and I send it to you, and you tell me what looks like shit and what looks good, and go from there.
Oh, I'm not that mean.
No,
Um,
but
So let's go ahead and just take a screen cap really quick, and let's go over some notes. I will just say surface, from a very surface thing, I think it's a pretty good job so far. You know, so you spent your week wisely. Put it that way. You chose wisely.
well, at this point, you know, you- well, as an artist, you get to a point where you know when you're wasting time and not, and like you said, it shows. Like if I didn't spend my time wisely, we would see time not well spent.
That's what I try to tell you. Like when I say, hey, get started on Monday night or get started Tuesday night, and I'm like, look, when I tell you to work Tuesday night and take Monday off, I really mean it. Like enjoy your Monday. But fucking Tuesday, dude, don't fuck around. If you just put it off till the last hour, I'm gonna know when you turn in your work.
Right.
Because this is not. It's not like It's not. I mean, you just know, dude. There's when you're producing work that is held to a standard, you can't. You gotta respect the process. You know.
Yeah.
There's no shortchanging. Well, that's my fucking thing. Like all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and just hit print screen. I'm just gonna do a quick screen cap. You can come here into Photoshop, and yeah, I mean, if you look at, it's a little hard to see with my nose, but uh, I mean, it's pretty obvious. So let's
Right.
just go ahead and just paste, yeah, paste that in there. And I'm gonna take this and just go ahead and duplicate that really quick. Drop it right over. Just blow it up. Like, why is your model so low res, fucker? No, let's not stretch it, Rob. Unfair to you. So, and then go ahead and take this and duplicate that. Scale it down a little bit. All right. So let's see here. First things first. Let's just talk about the main section, and then we'll talk about the wing first, and we'll get to like the wings and stuff. So let's see. This this is like probably an issue right now. So let's see if I can just paint. And I think it might be a little wide on the model right now.
Uh-huh.
What I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to go for with that piece is I just think that there's it's a little thin. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Right there. It's a little thin. This bulbous shape you're using right now, these are going to be like vents, actually, you know?
All right.
So maybe there's a way you can already put that in there. If not, if it's kind of a pain, let me know, and I can just deal with it, you know?
All right. I'll see if I can try to make it flat.
This is a weird shape. This is just some Play-Doh looking thing. This needs to be an actual, like this comes in, and this needs to be an actual, like a wheel,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like you're on your car.
Right. The well.
Yeah, the wheel well needs to be like that right there. That needs to be pretty clear piece so that, you know, and then we'll put stuff in there. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So right now this is a little illusionary. It needs to. You're right in that it's coming out. It needs to fan out. Like don't. This looks like it's kind of coming like this, right?
Uh-huh.
So ignore that. That's just the paint. Like, but I'm just trying to make sure that the thickness right here, you know. I don't know if that line right there is all that accurate. That looks like the way there's the perspective's working, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think right now, like it's just too thin right there. You know what I mean? When you start to,
Right.
you see what I'm trying to do? Like close it up a little bit
Yeah.
so it's a little sleeker. Is really I'm trying to. It's just how I see that. So then second, this piece right here is a good start. I think if there's a way to point it and bring this to a point, right? So
Uh-huh.
there's a middle piece here, right? And then it's more like a, it's like this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then And then it doesn't. And then inside that is this light, well light piece, right?
Hmm.
This thing. It fits in there, which we'll get to. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something. Um, hmm. And then whatever vent piece you do in there, put right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there a way to bring that down and bring this like this?
I was trying. I spent a lot of time trying to make it that way. Um, I could try more, but that's one I was having a lot of trouble trying to.
Yeah, try it again.
Okay.
I think if you just create one of those things where it's like this, it's the NURBS. You create the
Hmm.
rims, right? Where you create these wireframes that go out like this. You should be able to get that, and then you lathe it. You see what I mean?
Hmm.
Where you create these wireframes. And do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that might be the way to get that going. Because what you should do first is build the front piece. Don't make it one giant piece. How about that? Because I think that's your problem right now. So first you start with this, right? This this piece. That's not the best representation of it. We'll call that the cone, right? Similar to like this, right?
Right.
It's just a little more rounder. Um, so you got the cone where the vent's stored, and then this continues down a little bit, right?
Hmm.
And then swoops up. I mean, if you look at the difference, it looks more like an engine. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
So I'd like a second pass on that. I think you can do it if you just, And then once that's done, gotta actually draw the door on there. You know. So figure out we'll figure out that last, right? The very last thing we should do is ports. All the ports need to be brought on. So the port
Right.
here. I think this is a little. I think it needs to come forward to
All
about
right.
here, and I think it needs to come like it's a little not visible right there. It needs to be made either a little bit bigger, right? Or what's that? Is that hatch scaled to your figure? That's why I was like, "Where's your figure thing?"
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah, you need a figure. So um, the hatch should be able to fit the person, right?
okay.
But it may need to come up a little bit so it's more like just to be readable. See what I mean? Like right
Hmm.
now it's not readable. It's a little tiny. So there's that. This needs one big outer cone, the cannon
Okay.
piece. See that right there?
Yeah.
It needs that right there. And we need to work out. When I think of this, the way it sits a little bit, maybe it sits the way like the Burton Batmobile. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's got a little bit of that going on. I mean, like I said, it's much bigger in there. It's not, you know what I mean, than it
Right.
looks. And then maybe we'll do like two small ports instead of that thing right there. But yeah, that's pretty good. Hmm, I think that's really the bigger issue
Hmm.
right there. And then I'm fine with that. It's not that big a deal. So then the next thing would be these wings, right? These are the bigger issue.
Right.
So this is too that ain't gonna work. It's too wide. So this needs to be an actual point, like the propellers in a way, right? And then so maybe it's like I don't know, like if you look up airplane. Let me see. Mm, see if we can find something with a side wing, right? Mm,
Maybe like a one of those boats that land in water, sea
right.
boats. I don't know what they're
Seaboat. Let
called.
me type in seaboat. Seaboat, plane, or seaplane.
Or yeah, seaplane, something like that. Maybe it is a seaplane, or yeah, kind of that white one, top right
Yeah,
there.
kind of. Let me see.
But I get you as far as they need to cut through the sky and not have like a wind drag effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure if I spent fucking 3 hours digging for this shit, I'd find it. You know? It's usually like in spaceships and stuff,
Right.
that kind of stuff. But but yeah, I mean, I would really just sort of like, the idea is that I sort of like, it's got a little bit of a. I don't know if it should have a curve right there because the way I see it in my head is that it, you know what I mean? The closest I
Like
can
it's a
think of,
knife.
maybe the closest I can think of, dude. Like now that it pops in my head, of all fucking things. Oh, infiltrator. Yeah, like, you see what I mean?
Hmm.
Like if this sort of thing were cut in half right here, right? This same thing like that. That's probably where it was in my head.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So and it would just be a little bit, you know, not so. I mean, it could be here it has a little bit of a lip, right? But it's not like yours is like way
Thick
huge.
doors.
Yeah, yours is like huge. So yeah, that would be it. Like the drawing kind of makes more sense of it, the concept. Yeah. You get the idea now?
I do.
Right. So it should be like that. And then you need to also remember that these are going to have, like, like a plane has a little rudders. It has these things right here, which are going to be like that. They're going to be rudders. And then we're going to need lights right here on the edge of it. And I think this is accurate to my drawing. So just, once we get it thin, we'll see if that needs to taper more. You know what I mean?
Right.
Might be the only thing I'm concerned with. And then, you want to keep yawning or?
Sorry.
All I gotta say, dude, there's a reason why I'm recording this because I don't have to repeat myself twice to you, right?
Correct.
How many times? See, folks, this is the thing. There's been a few times I've given him some direction, and he's come back 3 days later not doing a fucking thing. I've been like, well, you said, no, here, right here. Right here, I'm saying it. No friggin' excuse. So, that needs to be fixed. And you could just look to see how this should be laid out a little bit, I mean, I got it kind of chunky, you know, right
Uh-huh.
now. But yeah, so. There's that. And then let's just quickly go to the backside. And take, yeah. here. So you can yawn all you want, mister, but I don't want your shit.
And I was never heard from again.
Yeah, creatively, you know? Like, that's just too thick, dude. Alright, and let's just kind of... So, it's like these, rear lights aren't going to be like this. That's insane. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So we'll have to come with that. So maybe there's a way. Maybe there's a way where you build a light housing as thick as I want it right now,
Hmm.
and then we can find some extra pieces. You see what I mean? Like,
To go on that.
yeah, and
Right.
we can kind of fully develop this backside once because this needs the same treatment that these are going to get. You know,
Right.
like this should be like a rudder. You know, right here, like like on a plane has this thing.
Right. They turned.
Right, it's the same thing right there. So this is too thick. Same deal. And you should definitely build a bolt prop, a big bolt prop, Mega Man Legend style.
Yep.
All right, so you can take that piece and we can fit it here, here. You know what I mean?
Uh huh.
And on the insides, a couple places, these bigger, the bolts. So just look at Mega Man Legends and get that bolt down. So because yeah, and then this week I'm gonna go through and build a bunch of engine shape pieces for you to model.
Hmm.
So, uh, so this will actually come in more, right? And then in there, I'll have this vent and stuff.
Right.
See what I mean?
Right.
And I want this like a Y. That the way the vent grid is. See how these so they counteract.
Uh huh.
So in there the vents turn one way. These turn. This turns counterclockwise. The idea. And then we'll add on what we need to add on back here. These might need stuff. Well, it's gonna need stuff, that's for certain. But the scale of it's all right, so no problems there. Um, it's good enough for a draw over, dude. Like once you get that, that, and then the final little tweaks on all that stuff in there.
Hmm.
Um, and then we can maybe tweak like these. This is pretty thin, which is fine. I'm thinking with the stability of that, some of the stuff that I like back when I was a kid, of all fucking things, let's go back to Star Wars. Let me think in my head really quick. Uh, for lack of a better explanation. Like some of the stabilizer units were thinner and more brittle back in the day, Like they weren't
Hmm.
these, like there'd be these pieces sticking out and shit, that they don't kind of do anymore. So, like with this is pretty good, but once it connects into there, let me show that thing.
Have another piece.
Yeah, it needs that stabilizer. If you just look at the Sith Infiltrator, that'll give you a good example on how to like connect all this stuff.
Right.
I think that's pretty spot on just in terms of basic idea and the construction of those kinds of shapes. So I think that's actually the bigger. That's about it, dude. I mean, I don't think. So phase one is fix this stuff. It these fixes,
Right.
and then phase two is moving to the backside. You know, and I think next week, even if you get these fixes finished by Wednesday,
Uh huh.
we could do one more video in the middle of the week. You know what I mean? And that way you'll
Yeah. I think I can.
You're in a fucking mood this wood tonight, aren't you? Like,
I got a little pep in my step.
uh-huh. Well, you
Yes.
like you did you appreciate it before when no one knew what you were doing and no one cared?
Right.
Hmm.
I was just thinking about that today too. It's like the city. I don't know. A lot of artists think like, oh, I'm an artist, and you're at home, and you make these things, and you post stuff on DeviantArt or your art page, whatever. But not a lot of artists know what it's like to go to a con and actually have your art set out in front of thousands of people and just have them walk by you and just look over you, even if you have great stuff. And I'm not saying I'm great, I'm better than the person next to me, but it's a very it's a shitty feeling. So no, I mean I like that I'm a part of this, and I like that people are checking out my Instagram page and my Twitter page and my Facebook page, and they're adding me and telling me, hey, I even when I was doing the podcast, hey, I like hearing you, hey, I like hearing your input. So I mean I like it. So it's not,
Hmm. Just
but if
today you
you
act like a little pain in the ass, right? All right.
it's still the it's
And
still
don't fucking blame me because you went and saw that movie. All right.
it's still
I
it's
tried to warn you. You know that's what happens when you go to the movie theaters. It takes the piss out of you, dude.
it's still the thought of me putting myself out there. So it's still like, when you're like, yeah, I'll make another video. I'm like, oh, I hope people like it, and it's not shit.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the changes I'm asking for are unrealistic.
No, not at
So,
all.
but if you do it, then you'll be done this week.
Well,
Catch
I'm
my
done with
drift?
this.
So, well, you'll be done with this model. I mean, how long do you want to hang on a model, dude? So,
Forever.
3 fucking weeks. Almost an entire month for one fucking model is ridiculous, dude. But I understand. It'll get easier as you go along. So, and you have a little less reference to work with on the next round of shit. So, you know. Ah. But that being said, dude, I mean it's getting done right. Yeah, we got to go through all this shit. I think there I did draw that big version.
Yeah,
You'll probably have to model that and just see what that looks like. But I did this. I cut pretty. This is pretty clear. You didn't make that though.
that was probably
No.
one of the times I was yawning last week.
Yeah, well, you better fucking listen to these videos, dude. Because I swear to God, if I gotta repeat myself one more time,
What was
I
that?
swear, I swear, if I gotta repeat, yeah, it's a SketchCraft show with Brandon. So, all right, man. You have any comments? You want to give anybody advice on anything you've learned along the way? This is your place to do it. I don't want to hear how you don't get to talk about shit.
Uh,
No one cares.
I would just say know what you're making. Like, if you need to make a certain shape, make sure you just spend the time making that shape in the beginning instead of trying to adjust the shape later on. So, like the bottom piece, if you know, moving forward now, when I know I need to make a certain shape or look to a piece, I'm going to do that right off the bat because I don't want to spend the time going back and having to readjust the piece if I just can form it at least close to the right shapes in the beginning. So I guess I don't know how good advice that is, but just kind of know what you're trying. Like you always tell me, know what you're trying to achieve with a piece, a feel of it, or a look, or know
Yeah,
what
and,
you're
and the
going for.
and the point with this too is to start to break down, like what like let's say, I'm the client, right, in this case. So what are they like very particular about? The look of these vents, the look of this stuff. This is also from the very beginning, that I was like, these are going to be issues, but I'm big on that. And so the mistake would be to try to like you said, make a giant piece and keep editing this giant thing. It's if you know this section as a big stickler, really focus your time on getting that thing right. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And run that piece over, by me. Hey, what do you think about this? Is just that one from vent? Okay, great. And then you start to add on to it. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
then you build that. Does it look like this in the middle of the week? Yeah, great. The biggest problem I always see is people spend forever trying to get this thing to some state, and then you got to go back and make big changes. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and that involve like this involves just redoing work at this point.
Hmm.
And so, however much time you spend on that, it's like, well, that was learning, but the real trick to do is to know, to get that wing shape down, get it to a shape that looks right. Maybe the thickness is off, but okay, that's kind of, and then you start to add these pieces in to the set, and then you refine anything on top of that. You know what I mean? Then you're refining. You're not rebuilding it. Like if I said, "Hey, go in here and add some stuff and throw this stuff on there," you'd be putting pieces onto it, right? But you wouldn't be remodeling the whole thing from scratch. You know what I mean? Or trying to move vertices around. And I call that you're just praying if you shove enough stuff in the right direction, it somehow magically works out, and it won't. It never will, dude.
Right.
People do the same thing in Photoshop, and they think they're just gonna I'll go in here and I'll just play with the layer effects until I magically get the fucking done button. You know what I mean? There, it's a lens flare. Like that's not a lens flare. Like like that's what people do. So, but from the beginning, like the propeller thing was good. Here it definitely still looks on my drawing like there's more to that. So maybe when we get to the backside, we might pull some of that out and add a little extra piece back here. But um, so like I always say, make these things modular. So moving them, they're not like connected to everything.
Right.
And if we were doing this for animation, you would be doing this temp model first, and then once we agree on everything, you'd probably have to remake an actual animation friendly model. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But until you get to this enough skill to where you can do an animation, you would know every part. Like if you built every part modularly, then sticking it all together to animate would just be a matter of, well, they would all be clean, the vertices wouldn't be fucked up, it'd be these pieces you put in, and then it would be grouped, and then you could do it. You would design it to be like a kit, like a model kit that you can add stuff on and move things around. And hopefully, that's the goal in the next, couple years, that you get to that point where that you're designing that way from the beginning. And I think you'll be, even on the next model, you'll be thinking more, you're thinking more that way now than when you first did the crepes. Remember the crepes?
Yeah.
Like in the crepes model in SketchUp, is a diner, and it's like you'd be surprised, Brandon, but a lot of people would build the table from the floor up, like it was a video game where everything had to be one piece. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so thinking in terms of building in little kits and pieces, and then you can take this wing and okay, now you got a storage of like screws, you got a storage of fan belts, you got a storage of this, and then especially with these extra model pieces that you'll be doing, like. That's cool stuff. So when we move forward, if we have like a giant airship, or I'm like, hey, shove all this stuff in there, you know what I mean? Just fucking,
Right.
you'll be able to start, doing that. So awesome. That's it. So Brandon, where can we find you on the internet?
Everyone, add me on Instagram and Twitter at LetHeavy, and same on Facebook on my art page.
Sweet. And everyone, you can see me as always at SketchCraft. That's the name of the vidcast. SketchCraft.com. We'll be back with more Game Cave development soon.